Alright, so Black Lives Matter appears to be moving the goalposts again. Uh, in a article written by Heat Street, I'll read you a excerpt from. A full article will be posted in the links in the description below. They demonstrate this. Now, the article is titled, Black Lives Matter, Trying to Stop Bill That Teaches School Children How to Deal with Police. Black Lives Matter has come out against a new bill proposed by the New Jersey Assembly that compels schools to provide training to youngsters on how to interact with police and avoid confrontation. According to a co-sponsor of the bill, Democrat Assemblywoman Sheila Oliver, the bill mirrors the quote-unquote the talk that many black parents have with their children, explaining the delicacies of dealing with the police in America. Look, I'm just trying to save lives, said the Assemblywoman, a co-sponsor of the bill which passed in a 76-0 vote back in June. Despite good intentions, however, Black Lives Matter movement has expressed its opposition to the bill, claiming that it would just create a scapegoat for police brutality. The Philadelphia Inquirer reported. A lead organizer with the local Black Lives Matter chapter, Alexis Miller, calls on politicians to block the bill when it reaches the Senate, saying it puts pressure on people rather than the police to behave accordingly. No, it puts pressure on both. The police already have pressure on them to act accordingly, numbnuts. This is like, oh, hey, there are two sides, it takes two to tango, that kind of thing. This is telling, to inform kids as they're growing up and they're going to be dealing with police in the real world, like, hey, here are some precautions you could freaking take here. But let's move on here. The movement is also rallying its supporters to sign a petition addressed to New Jersey senators, which so far has gotten more than 1,300 signatures to stop the bill. This bill is clearly designed to create a scapegoat for police brutality, and that scapegoat is New Jersey's children, Miller said. It does nothing to address the laws already in place that protect the immense power of police departments. I don't know what they're talking about there, other than their immense power to enforce laws in general. That seems to be a thing that a lot of people on that side of the argument seem to have, is this opinion. It's like the police are, I don't know, some kind of specific dominating force. Now, don't get me wrong, policing in the U.S. needs a lot of work. It's far too militarized, in my opinion. I think a lot more needs to be put in. Effort needs to be put into training for dealing with people with mental illness, for de-escalation, things like that. But other than that, it simply enforces the laws that are currently on the books. If a cop were to just, for the hell of it, pull out his gun and shoot someone in broad daylight on a street without a reason, he would be fired. He would be tried for murder. He'd be convicted and he'd go to prison. Just because a cop shoots someone does not mean that person was innocent. Moving on. Keep getting sidetracked here. Students, and here's the part that really is some real goalpost moving shit here. The goalposts are not just on at the other end of the field now. They're on the next field. They're on a field in a county away at this point. Because she says this: students, or children, are expected to master the idea of respectability politics in order to protect themselves from officers. And see, that's the thing I really want to take issue with here, is respectability politics. I had to look that up, and oddly enough, interestingly, when you Google it, the first results you come up with are I don't know if they're Black Lives Matter. It's called Root. It's like where a lot of Black Lives Matter people go and write stories and post shit. Where essentially respectability politics is this horrible oppressive concept where you are expected to dress and act a certain way that is aligning with the mainstream to be considered respectable or to be dealt with or respected as a peer. And that concept, okay, so now if that's now the goal of Black Lives Matter, we need to deconstruct respectability politics. Well, then, unfortunately, now we're going to be dealing with these people for a very long time. Because that concept, that is a part of human nature. All right? For example, something that pertains to stuff like this. You know, if you go out in public wearing a badge and a gun, in the U.S. at least, people are going to think that you're a cop. If you go out wearing a tool belt with a hammer hanging off it, people are going to think you're a carpenter or a construction worker. You know, if you go to a job interview wearing, friggin' board shorts and flip-flops instead of, slacks and a button down, you're not going to get the job unless it's at like a board shop or something. There's a reason that people, someone like Anderson Cooper, when he appears on the news every night, has like his hair done to perfection and his suit's fitted and he's wearing a suit and tie and all this stuff because it looks respectable. It's like, okay, this is a person who's like, put together, they're professional, they give off an air of professionalism, they know what they're doing, and that you can trust them to be an authority on something, regardless of whether or not they actually are, but that's the perception. If he came on with friggin' hair all jacked up, wearing like a friggin', like wife beater or something like that with, ketchup stains and grubby jeans and old pair of sneakers, no one would watch the show. They're like, who the hell is it? What the hell is this person doing? Why should I believe them? It's perception. All right, it's the way, like, and that is one of the few like universal human traits. I mean, think about it. Through every civilization, through all time periods, all nations, throughout history, can you think of one example where your outward appearance or behavior wasn't considered or taken into account when people are interacting with you? It's like, people's perception is, again, it happens everywhere. It's universally, like in Western culture, in Middle Eastern culture, in Eastern culture, all of them, across the board. If you dress a certain way and you act a certain way, people are going to perceive you in a certain way. If you go around carrying, like for instance, if you go around, even on the streets of Texas, I know, shocking, but it does happen. If you go around the streets there with a friggin' rifle slung over your shoulder, people are going to assume you're one of those, like, far-right, open carry weirdos. They're probably going to be right, and more than likely they're going to be right, because there's a reason for this shit. And see, that's what I have with this. Like, okay, so now what they have done is now okay. We're not just trying to reduce the number of people that are killed by innocent people that are killed by police every year, which shit happens. It doesn't happen nearly as much as they like to claim, but it does happen, and yeah, it should be worked on. But that's what the initial, like, okay, well, that's what they were trying to do. They're trying to reduce the number of people killed by police each year. But now we've changed so that Like, okay, no, now the goalpost has been moved to such a degree that for their mission to be complete, or at least part of it, they have to change a universal human nature. Like, seriously, come on now. Let's try to rein that back in, because again, that has never happened, and that will never change. You know, if you dress a certain way and act a certain way in certain societies, you will be perceived a certain way. Deal with it. Everyone else has dealt with it. Okay? It's time for the people in this movement to who feel this way to just understand that. And also too, me personally, I really can't see a problem, evidently, considering the thing passed 76-0. Don't believe the state of New Jersey has an issue with the idea of teaching kids how to deal with potentially tense situations. Because, I mean, think about it. You don't normally deal with cops in any way, shape, or form when things are perfectly fine and chill. It is almost always a tense situation. And in tense situations, things go pear-shaped in a hurry. So, this is just another thing that can be used, another bit of knowledge, another tool in the knowledge tool belt for them to tuck away to be like, okay, when I'm pulled over, or when a cop stops me or something like that, you know, don't jam my hands in my pockets. Don't make sudden moves, because, you know, two people who don't know each other meeting in the middle of the night under potentially suspicious circumstances, you know, things could get ugly if precautions aren't taken on both sides. So yeah, this, on the legislation, yeah, there's no problem with this. It's a good idea. All right, hopefully it will help to keep people from getting killed unnecessarily, which is supposed to be the reason for Black Lives Matter to exist. And as far as the other thing, give it a rest, okay? That's not changing. It has never changed, and it will not. So, get over it. And, I don't know, invest in a pair of slacks and a button-down shirt. What can I tell you? Alright, that's all I have for now. Like, dislike, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from anyone, their opinions on this matter. Links, as always, in the description below. And, oh yeah, subscribe. Make sure to subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye.